It's 12:29. I'm Sara Capeloa, and this is your Riot Radio News Update. 2 teens charged with murder and stabbing death of teen boy outside of a Hamilton school. An 18 and 14-year-old have been charged with first-degree murder after another 14-year-old was stabbed in front of Sir Winston Churchill Secondary School in Hamilton. The boy was attacked just before 1:30 p.m. on Monday while he was with his mother. The 2 males will appear at the John Sapinka Courthouse Tuesday. Their names as well as the name of the victim haven't been made public. International student accused of staging his own kidnapping. A 16-year-old international student from China allegedly staged his own kidnapping in Markham last month. Police were called to a residence on Hunting Park Drive on September 27th, just after midnight, for a report of kidnapping. The student sent a video to his parents which showed him bound, gagged, and wearing a blindfold, and demanded that they pay $1 million for his release. After about an hour after the initial call, the student was spotted inside of a restaurant where further investigation proved that the student had staged the kidnapping in an effort to get attention and cash from his parents. The teenager has since been arrested and charged with public mischief. Police searching for suspect after gunshots heard in Oshawa. Police are investigating after gunshots were heard outside of a plaza in Oshawa Thursday night. Police were called to the Rosslyn Square Plaza for reports of an armed person around 10:30 p.m. A nearby resident, as well as other people, reported hearing several gunshots, and police recovered several shotgun shell casings on the bike path east of the plaza. That's it for the news. Now for sports. Leafs lose once again last night. The Toronto Maple Leafs gave the defending Stanley Cup champions all they could handle, but it was not enough. Alex Pietrangelo scored the winning goal in the third period, defeating Toronto 3-2. Toronto Raptors blow past the Rockets in Japan to open the preseason. In their first game since winning the NBA Finals, Pascal Siakam scored 24 points and grabbed 11 rebounds, assisting the Raptors in beating the Houston Rockets 134-129 in Tokyo on Tuesday. The exhibition game at the Saitama Super Arena was the NBA's first in Japan since 2003. The Rockets and the Raptors will return there to conclude the 2-game series this Thursday. That's all for sports. Now for your weather. Today we can expect mostly sunny with a high of 17, cooling down to a low of 3 later on tonight. We can also expect fog as well as frost developing overnight into Wednesday. Wednesday is expected to be another nice day with a high of 18 and fog dissipating by early morning. Skies are expected to be clear, reaching a low of 4 by the evening. That's all for your news, sports, and weather. I'm Sara Capeloa. Welcome to Campus Connection. I'm your host, Sara Capeloa, and on today's show, we'll be discussing Juice WRLD's death and conspiracy surrounding it with JP, and then after we'll be discussing old TV shows with Nicole. Don't forget to follow us on Twitter at Riot Radio, and we'll be right back here after the song Blinding Lights by The Weeknd. So welcome back to Campus Connection. Don't forget to check us out on Twitter at Riot Radio Talk. So I'm here with JP today. Thank you for being here.
Thank you so much for having me.
So would you like to explain what happened regarding Juice WRLD for those of us that might not know what's going on? I was actually like a really big fan of him myself, and when I found out the news I was pretty shocked. And then I actually read online that after they basically investigated, they found a bunch of marijuana on the plane and a bunch of guns too, which was just kind of crazy. And then there's that other whole realm about the conspiracy theories regarding his death.
I know.
Yeah, so that was a crazy video. I actually didn't know a lot of those conspiracy theories, especially the one about the TikTok, because again, I don't really use it.
I know.
So that's kind of weird that people were making TikToks about the seizures with Juice WRLD's song in it. That's so strange.
I know, that's crazy. I mean, you don't have to joke with those things.
Yeah, no, and I just think it's really freaky how that actually ended up being the way that he died, and the other thing too, a bunch of the other conspiracy theories about his lyrics, stating that he was going to die before 21, and his tweets, very mysteriously stating that he was going to fake his death, just be famous for a while.
A tweet actually.
Yeah, which is just strange to me because it's how are you kind of foreshadowing all of this happening and then it actually does happen, it's just very mind-blowing to me. And the other thing too, I read actually this morning, I don't know if it was how accurate it was, but they said that he actually suffered from a drug overdose, which is just sort of sad because I always felt like Juice WRLD was one of those people who were advocating for rappers not being about that scene and promoting it to their fans, so it's just kind of sad to see someone that young die, you know what I mean?
I know.
So, what are your thoughts? Do you think that he's actually dead? Yeah, it's so strange. How do you explain the things that happened prior to his death, right? Yeah. Well, thank you so much for being on the show with me here today. So we'll be right back after the break. Right now we have Adore You by Harry Styles. So welcome back to Campus Connection. I'm here with Nicole, and today we're going to talk about some old TV shows. Yeah, definitely. I feel like back in the day, like I used to get so excited to just like get home from school and like start watching TV. Like I swear my favorite was Lizzie McGuire. I used to run home to watch that because I'm pretty sure it came on at like 3:30. I was done school at like 3:10, so I only had like a certain amount of time to just rush home.
Yeah.
And like at that time, there was just all this like hype surrounding those shows too. Like I know, like for example, with Lizzie McGuire, like when the movies came out, like it was the talk of, you know, the whole entire school. Like, definitely, especially for, like, teenagers. Like, I feel like now, especially with, like, that whole, like, Riverdale culture and stuff like that, like, I tried to watch the show. I couldn't really get into it. I just think it was, like, really over-dramatized and, like, too serious. I don't know. I just feel like our TV shows, like, when we were younger, just had more of, like, a joyful, like, not so serious nature to it. Like meanwhile now it's all about like sex and drugs and rock and roll, you know what I mean? Like, well, definitely, because I feel like it's kind of gotten to this like oversensitized, like almost where you have to kind of include everybody in all these shows or else everybody's just going to be completely upset.
Yeah.
Which I think is ridiculous. Like, yes, you have to have representation in shows, but like you don't have to fulfill every single quota in your show just to make a point.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And like I feel like nowadays they're just kind of too focused on that instead of just like making content that kids are going to enjoy that's not just so like serious about life and instead is just like sort of this fantasy world. Like Lizzie McGuire, like yeah, it was a great show, but like none of those like episodes were like none of that happened. You know what I mean? I know, like for example, for my dad in specific, he wasn't really ever into TV shows. It was more like Arnold Schwarzenegger movies and stuff like that. But one show that he really liked was Sanford and Sons.
Oh, that show's hilarious.
It was great, and I actually like ended up watching it a lot with him, and I thought it was like just a very interesting show because it's like placed so late, and it was just hilarious. Like it just completely defies the odds of like what TV would be nowadays. Like you would never have a character like Sanford.
No way.
Like,
Even.
Yeah, well, I sort of think, like, when I was in high school, they were kind of, like, already banned, technically speaking. Yeah. Like, if a teacher saw you using your phone, you'd usually, like, either get, like, yelled at the first time or then, like, obviously after there would be a little bit harsher consequences. Like, specifically, I remember when I think it was grade 11, I got my phone taken away from me by a teacher, and she ended up giving it to the principal's office and telling me that I couldn't get it back until the end of the day. Yeah. And so basically, like, it was already kind of in place there, but I felt like that was almost more distracting than if she had just kind of let me keep my cell phone. Yeah. Because the entire day I was just kind of thinking about how I wasn't going to get it back until the end of the day. But also I remember that we didn't really care when it was like supply teachers, you know what I mean? Yes. Like it's not just that we didn't care about the cell phones, it was almost everything, but I feel like when we had supply teachers we kind of just like put our phones on our table. We didn't really care. Yeah. No, but actually they really were. Like it wasn't anything that like you kind of really paid attention to unless of course it was like a supply teacher that you had a lot or whatever or had a bad reputation, then you kind of did care, but most of the time it's just like, oh, we have a supply teacher, it looks like we're gonna have an easy day, so like let's just use our cell phones, let's watch YouTube videos and such. Like so yeah, I don't really think that like it's any different from like what it was at least when I was in high school. It's been like 6 years, but still like I think it's pretty much the same. I actually thought it was interesting when I was reading about the ban. They said it was because like 97% of parents, students, and educators expressed that it would be like beneficial to have a ban on cell phones in the school
for like educational purposes.
For like basically just like to keep people like not distracted. But like my only question is like I understand where the educators are coming from because they're firsthand seeing like the detriment of what using your cell phone in your class does, but parents I don't really understand because like they're not actually in the classroom at any point, so how do they really know what's going on? And let's be real, what student is complaining about the cell phones, right? So I just didn't really understand that. And the other thing too is where are these parents like voicing their opinions? Where are they getting their information from? The other thing too is like because the parents are kind of like voicing their opinions, I feel like these same parents who are like advocating for banning cell phones in school are the same people who are not really like monitoring their child's use at home. So like how are they kind of supposed to correlate bad grades if they're not controlling how much their kid is using it at home? So basically like the Ontario government said that this was going to be regulated by the Provincial Code of Conduct, which is basically like a mandate mandated thing that they have that outlines rules and regulations for every public school board in Ontario. And it basically just sets out the provincial standards, and every school has to kind of like align with that. But it doesn't actually enforce the rules. They kind of leave that up to the schools. So that's again where I come to the point where like, where is that any different from where it's already been at, you know? Right, which is kind of, I almost see like there's going to be an issue there where a lot of people are going to be like, that's almost unfair, because like what if they're kind of using it to an advantage? However, like it's a valid point, obviously. I know they're also applying it to people with mental health issues, but then at the same time you always have that angle, like what if people are kind of claiming they have mental health issues just to be able to use their cell phones in school?
Awesome.
Yeah, sure. So last week, right before Remembrance Day, John Cherry brought up the poppy flower during Coach's Corner during his broadcast, and he basically went on a rant just complaining that people didn't seem to wear the poppy pin anymore. And he basically was just saying that it was disrespectful, but then he sort of shifted his argument to blaming the country's immigrants and newcomers, and actually referred to them as you people during it, and basically said that they should buy poppies in order to show their appreciation for the veterans that risked their lives for quote-unquote your way of life that you enjoy in Canada. Now, obviously, this led to a lot of backlash from viewers and social media users. A lot of people referred to the rant as racist and xenophobic, and a lot of hashtags actually started trending basically to like boycott Sportsnet and to boycott Don Cherry, and he eventually got fired, as we've pretty much all heard, unless you've been living under a rock for the past week. Yeah, it was interesting. I mean, like I do think he had a point. Like he's a vet himself, so like he wants people to show respect by wearing the pin. I just think like the main problem is, number one, he didn't apologize for like what he said or like how he said it,
and he won't.
Yeah, exactly, he won't. Like he literally said that in a separate interview, I think it was a couple of days later, he literally said that he knows what he said and he won't take it back. Which is, I don't know, like I don't think the problem is really like what he said, again, because I do agree like he has a right to think that Canadians should wear poppies, but it's more just the way he said it and like the divisive way he went about it, like specifically saying that it's the immigrants in this country who don't wear poppies, when I can tell you probably, if not all of my friends, don't wear poppies themselves. Yeah, exactly. Like I definitely agree with you. I'm actually an immigrant myself, and I have lots of family who came here from Portugal. And even like thinking about my childhood, like I don't think that my family actually knew what a poppy was until like I was probably in grade 2 or 3 and could actually like understand it, and went home with this flower on my shirt. My mom's like, what is that? Like, you know, because you just don't know. And I think a lot of people are misinformed, and I know like the general argument just sort of like, oh, well, you should be informing yourself if you move to Canada, like should be accepting the values and stuff. Like, okay, easier said than done though, because poppies are only something that kind of happens once a year. It's not something that's like year round. Like nobody's really wearing flowers all the time on their shirt unless they're like, you know, somebody, probably honestly vets. Like that's really the only people who are going to wear them year round. And I think that a lot of people, like you said, that haven't been here for long just generally don't know, and it's not a sign of disrespect for anyone. It's just like you really don't know. And people who do, just because you don't wear a poppy doesn't mean you're unsupportive. Like for example, like me, I've purchased poppies lots of times, and then like 3 minutes later it's gone off my shirt because it just falls, right? And you have like nothing to do. It's like I still donated, still supported the cause, but it's gone, and I'm not going to go and get another one just to say that I did, just to say that I supported, you know? So basically they just said that they didn't view those opinions as their own opinions, and they kind of apologized on his behalf. And then the next day his co-host actually apologized as well for kind of like not stepping up and being like, hey, Don Cherry, like that wasn't right what you said, or like, you know, just in general. But as for himself in general, he hasn't had anything to say about it, which I think is it's something, that's for sure. And I've also been seeing on Facebook and stuff like that, a lot of people, I don't know if you've seen the meme that's going around that's like, you can't complain about Don Cherry if you voted for Justin Trudeau. And it's just like, first of all, what does one thing have to do with the other? And even then, like Justin Trudeau did do some bad stuff, like the the Halloween costume that
Yes.
he was recently a big scandal. Now, the major difference is that he apologized for it, and he knew that like his actions were wrong, and like what he did in the past was something that he shouldn't have done. But Don Cherry didn't apologize, won't apologize, and this also isn't the first time he's said stuff like that. Like a couple years ago, he did make some comments that were pretty much the same. So.
Welcome to DC TV. I'm Sara Capeloa, and this is your news on campus and beyond for Tuesday, April 9th. Conservative Party leader Andrew Scheer received a lawsuit threat from Justin Trudeau after comments that were made about the ongoing SNC-Lavalin affair. Trudeau's lawyer alleges Scheer made false statements after expressing his criticism in response to new documents tabled in the Justice Committee from former Attorney General Jody Wilson-Raybould. After receiving the lawsuit threat, Scheer made it clear that he stands by every criticism he's made and urges that the Prime Minister act fast on his threat to sue. DCSI recently set up an oxygen bar in Durham College. What is an oxygen bar, you ask? DC reporter Jaden Melbourne has the scoop. Facebook has put their foot down on ensuring their platform isn't used to spread hate. The company said it has long-standing policies on extremist content as well as organized hate groups and hopes to keep dangerous individuals and organizations away from the social networking website. Facebook said the Canadian Nationalist Front, Aryan Strike Force, Wolves of Odin, and Soldiers of Odin have been banned from having any further presence on its services. The first ever photo of a black hole is being revealed tomorrow. Scientists from the U.S. National Science Foundation have scheduled a news conference in Washington to announce the groundbreaking result from the Event Horizon Telescope project. A black hole's event horizon is one of the most violent places in the universe. The black hole that was photographed was found at the center of the Milky Way, possessing 4 million times the mass of our Sun, and is located 26,000 light-years away from Earth. The Korean Cultural Club stopped by the pit yesterday to promote the beauty of Korean culture. Formed at the beginning of the second semester and plan on continuing into the next school year. The club was demonstrating different styles of Korean music, had Korean currency on display, and were also teaching guests how to write their names in Korean. Sunwing Airlines are being fined and are expected to compensate passengers after the airline broke rules during an ice storm that led to many delays last spring. Over 16,000 passengers were affected, while 578 people complained after their flights out of Toronto and Montreal were delayed for more than 4 hours. A spokesperson for Sunwing offered the airline sincerest apologies and are working to improve their services. A Mississauga man is warning other Hyundai drivers with sunroofs on their cars about the possibility of the glass shattering while they are driving. Mark Barsom was on the Highway 427 in Toronto last week when his sunroof seemingly shattered for no reason. The video caught on his dashcam is similar to many other incidents where defective glass could have caused the sunroof to shatter. In 2018, Transport Canada revealed 61 other Hyundai vehicles experienced the exact same problem. That's all your news for now. Olivia Reedman joins us now with all the latest sports highlights. Olivia?
Thanks, Sarah.
The San Francisco 49ers defeated the Green Bay Packers 37-20 yesterday to win the NFL championship. It was on the back of Raheem Mostert that the 49ers were able to defeat the Packers with his breakout performance. The 49ers will meet the Kansas City Chiefs at Hard Rock Stadium in Miami Gardens, Florida next month for a chance to claim the title of the NFL champions. The Leafs slide out of the playoff picture with a loss to Blackhawks before their bye week. Fans are a bit antsy heading into the bye week as they experience their 5th loss in 6 games and tumble down to the Eastern Conference standings from 3rd in the Atlantic Division to out of the playoff picture. Conor McGregor returns to the UFC and TKO'd Cowboy Cerrone in 40 seconds. His opening flurry of a punch that missed was followed by shoulder and elbow shots to the face. He then floored Cerrone only 20 seconds into the fight with a perfectly placed kick to the head. When he paraded around the ring with an Irish flag on his shoulders to celebrate, McGregor knew he was back with a big bang. That's Riot Radio Sports. I'm Sara Capeloa.
That is your news on campus and beyond for today. Be sure to follow us on Twitter at DC Broadcasting. Thanks for watching and have a great day.